Protect G, Pay Safeguard, The Score Esports, Mountain Dew, and ESEA.
Interestingly, in this modern day, there's lots of information available to us. This one didn't come from the Score Esports app. It came from something old school called Twitter. Follow me at Sadokist and at DropTheBomb.TV. They don't even play Mirage, so they left it in the friggin' map pool like they were pugging that. What was G2 thinking?
Shox forgot it existed. He actually forgot to ban the map. I tweeted at Scream and I got a reply from Shox saying he forgot to ban the map. He didn't even think it was in the pool. He didn't say that. I'm obviously elaborating that part, but how do you forget to ban your worst map? Isn't that just you going through the paces?
You think someone's just like, they won't play it anyway, we won't pick it?
Maybe it was, just a bit of a surprise.
You have a look on your face like you're in disdain of this.
I just make our job the hardest possible. Like we're trying to find some sense into it, and then after the map, you're just like, just forgot to ban the map that we never play.
What's the point of
I guess it happens. I mean, just slipped his mind. It's just a bit silly thinking about it.
I guess they're all busy. They play so much Counter-Strike. They had a brain. Man, this is getting worse and worse every segment, isn't it? They had a little brain fart. Shocking from Shox. But let's move to Overpass.
It's enough to make you scream.
Oh, man. I don't know. Yeah, it was good, actually. I was going to try to follow it up. I couldn't. But we can move on to Overpass.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yanko, would you like to start?
Would you like to start, Yanko? Are you sure you want to start?
I guess someone has to. Someone has to. Obviously, they played this map at the finals in Kiev the other weekend. Interesting. Also, Michael played at that tournament, so it's the same lineup for NiP, and it was quite a close game. And NiP managed to claw their way back and win the map, even though they lost both pistols in that particular match as well.
One of which was heavily disputed, but I think dealt with very fairly. By the way, I think the admins did a great job.
Drama, of course.
No, but I think the admins did good. Just to be clear,
I mean, it was okay, but I think it's one of those maps G2 that didn't play it all that much, and then they beat Fnatic at the ECS finals, they beat Luminosity at the ECS finals, they beat Luminosity at Pro League Finals Season 3. So I think they were a bit, by those results, they were thinking, oh, we're actually really good at this map, let's play it. And they didn't have as good results after that. They've been mostly losing on it.
And I think a lot of people were surprised in the tournament that they did pick it up. I think you said on the desk with Paul and Natsu, Yona, that maybe this is due strictly to Michael Lilly, and he was very large on it. From the G2 perspective, would that almost be a favoring factor? We just had I forgot to ban a map chance of Brazil maybe taking a blow, but then you come back in with this, it's a little more execution heavy, but Scream, that can't happen again. AWP.
Yeah, he said that he just picked up the open, probably wasn't the map to do it as well on Twitter. So.
First off, you don't play the map ever, and then you make a rule change.
Well, I'm surprised they had executes if they even forgot. You think if you would have known a little bit in advance, right, about the map. But anyway, screw that map. Let's talk about Overpass. I think NiP, I like the way that they approach their T-sides now, being more strategical. So Overpass is a map which lends towards that. They just have versed some really good teams recently on Overpass, like Na'Vi, right? That's one that you don't want to particularly play on the map. So that loss there, you can kind of go, okay, you can see that. But versus G2, I think they're going to be the favorite in this one. I think they have better strategy. I think they have better fundamentals to fall back on. And it didn't look like the players from G2 were really on fire there. When you're playing a pug, that's when you see people being flashy and getting multi-frags. Wasn't something we saw from them there. A couple of little glimpses, but it was mainly 2Ks. It wasn't, someone getting a sick ace or anything.
And they got pushed in the end there by Exist with good timing, who had low HP. Just goes to show you that things weren't going their way in terms of the luck either in the post plants. It is a map and a team that does depend a lot on aim and accuracy, though. And we never saw, this is one of the things I liked about NiP's CT side in Kiev, especially in that final. We never really saw Michael go aggressive until very late in the game. And I think it started to get inside G2's head because Michael not taking that peak and then them not really taking the lower tunnels. NiP was very passive, but yet they were winning the duels. If they can win the duels again, what does G2 have to do to make sure they gain that map control? Because we saw NiP when they threw those curveballs in, it was almost like G2 forgot about that being an option, never used the utility.
Yeah, that's the answer. Spend more utility, put NiP in unfavorable positions if they really want to take those duels so that they're at a disadvantage, right? I think, though, that the way G2 plays their CT side, it's good against how NiP likes to play, right? Methodically, taking map control. You pick a part of the map where you go a bit more aggressive, try to get an advantage early on, and then you can fall back to the bomb sites and then play the numbers pretty much, right? So this is one of those games that I really do feel like it will come down to which team is in better form, because it goes both ways. G2's T side might be a bit more sketchy than you would expect, but if they get the entry kills, then obviously it becomes much easier for them.
One thing that I remember from that match that we're talking about was when Makaleli was in the A site with the AWP behind the main bomb box. He was doing a really good job at rotating around that box and getting lots of kills. Like we just outlined, if they do the wall smokes, if G2 can save their utility for a full side execute, they're going to negate that, and I think NiP will probably have a hard time retaking. I like how Freiburg plays B as a rock on this map, and I think that he needs to have a good performance like he did in Kiev.
Good point, because he was very good in that game.
He was probably a standout player in that final, actually. Considering his performances previously, he had lifted a lot, and I think that helped him across the line.
He's definitely improved a lot since the beginning of Pro League. I mean, maybe not improved, but performed better as an individual, for sure. So that's good to see, because he has been getting a lot of flack, for a while now, and he is an important player for that team. I mean, as the entry fragger, right? If he gets the entry kills, obviously makes their life a lot easier getting into the bomb site and then winning the round.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that we do give him credit where credit is due. Now, they just, I think HLTV tonight released the statistics from that tournament, and it was Forrest they gave the MVP to, even though arguably Shox was the better player throughout. He just didn't close it in the final, so therefore, Conn Smythe-esque, it goes to the winning team. Forrest gets it, but the other three exist. Makaleli and Get Right were all listed as extremely valuable players, and Freiburg, surprisingly to me, and this probably was based strictly on statistics, was only rated as a valuable player. And I think that he was above that. I think that him having that much extra in his performance just was the extra little bit that NiP needed in a lot of ways. And I think you highlighted a good point. He was very efficient, kind of Crims-esque almost on that B site, which is very hard to deal with if someone's smartly not peeking you and allowing for rotations.
He falls into that rock, that rock type of player that we label people with, like Flamey, those kind of guys. But he hadn't been a rock. He'd been a pebble more recently.
Oh, I see.
And it's good to see him back in his hardened form.
Do you call them pebbles in Australia?
Gravel?
Is that, there's no fun names for them, though? That's all I'm wondering.
Nah.
Just trying to learn
exciting.
my stray in before I get down there. And we go to the Bathurst 1000, have some shrimp on the Barbie, and...
It's prawns?
I hate you so much. You do it every time. No matter what I say, it's the opposite one.
It's definitely not shrimp.
All right. Prawns on the Barbie?
Yeah, that's okay. I don't even know if we really
I did this the other day. I hate that I'm on camera and you're just getting the best of me. Yeah, you've been trolling me both ways.
It's 100% prawns.
I know.
Everyone tweet at Sadika's pictures of prawns.
I'm not talking. Sponge is talking. Thank you.
Get it off me. Get it off me. I hate you so much right now, Chad.
It's because you call me Sponge.
Yeah, well, you are Sponge.
Okay. I'm not happy with that.
Well, I'm not happy with you.
Can you refer to me? See, Alex got this memo. You need to refer to me. Like, you can refer to me at the start as Sponge. That's fine. set the tone. But let's move away from it. Let's go with yes. And you say it so nice with that Canadian accent.
Chad, listen, Chad, I've had enough of talking to you. So I'm going to go talk, well, I'm not even going to talk to them. I'm just going to let them talk amongst themselves about a game called Counter-Strike. And that means sending it over to our lovely casters. It's going to be Lauren, Pansy, Scott, and Uber.
Can we just appreciate how really happy Yanko looked there right in the middle of that?
Why close up Yanko? Like when he's just getting more and more triggered every couple of seconds. It breaks my mind. Anyway, first of all, don't ever call them shrimp on the Barbie. They're prawns, the larger size ones. And I don't really think we put them on the Barbie. We just try to boil them, then we just rip their heads off and peel them and eat them.
No
we just
one
dip
really
them in
cares.
some There's we ignore the poo tube. The poo tube's still in there. That's fine. We just dip them in cocktail sauce.
You finished that. I'm glad.
Bloody down the hatch there with a bit of shandy on the side. So yeah. None of this shrimp on the Barbie bollocks. I don't even know how this even happened, but we don't eat that stuff. Anyway, Laura, let's talk about some CS now. We've had our moment to discuss obviously pressing issues here in the studios. I mean, one triggered Aussie is enough. You guys can normally deal with me when I'm triggered, just sort of put me in the corner, ignore me. But now, the Chad, as it were,
the Chad.
It's going to be a thing. Anyway. Overpass, obviously, like they've already said.
Yeah.
They've given us a decent prelude to this map, Lauren. Obviously, we did see it. NiP play this map. They tend to lose it against specialists. That's generally their issue. They've lost 16-8 versus Na'Vi. They lost 16-7 against Astralis in the Pro League already. And they lost in overtime against VP. So I wouldn't say they're amongst the top teams on this map, but still competent. And of course, G2, for whatever reason, opted to go for it in recent times.
Well, it's going to be better than Mirage for them. That's something you can say for sure. Yeah, the Mirage pick is now more hilarious than anything, but what can you do? For them, I just hope they can mentally reset, 'cause it is pretty frustrating, I can imagine, when you come into game, you're like, oh my god, we have to spend like an hour playing this now. You know what I mean? It's one of those. So for them, it's just, you know, reset a little bit. Gonna get back into game mode. All right, this is game time. Let's start afresh. Let's, you know, forget the last game. This is where we begin. This is a best of one. You know, look at it that way.
Yeah, we've broken enough baguettes over Shock's head already now in our frustration.
So you go from one stereotype to encouraging another with food.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that whatever's on hand, whatever's close by, they probably would have hit it with it.
Oh, of
I don't
course,
think they
the
would have
French would
resorted
have
to actual physical violence because, yeah, I mean, I'd have a baguette if I could. They're just not sold that commonly here.
That's
It's
true.
a bit of a shame. You get brötchen. Or some sort of ridiculously fat, sugar-laden sweet thing, which is fine generally.
Food aside,
hungry now.
NiP, yeah.
Pistol round. It's going to be
Christ
up K to receive first here. And we can see that most of NiP have committed to this one already. The screen, couple of shots coming in from the Crow's Nest. Finds Michael, cuts it down to a 4v5. And G2 weathered the initial push fairly well. Now the retake is on.
Well, that's what they were planning to do. Smiths and Shocks went aggressive down towards Party, and I love this boost. I really like this. Now, Forrest has got a great position because you don't instantly check it, right? So you should be able to find Body as he jumps through. But the problem is that Shocks is behind enemy lines, and actually Forrest, that wasn't as clean as you'd want. And Scream is having a great round so far. 2 kills for him, brings it back to a nice even 2v2, and it's down to Smiths. Flashbacks are plenty on this map for this man, and he needs to land. What is with the games? You know what?
Tilting intensifies.
I actually feel for Smiths these days, because it's got to be in your head like, do you remember what happened last time? Well, not even last time, but yeah, give it in slow-mo. That'd really help. Thanks, guys. Just.
So Gerard's just doing the limbo, occasionally while he reloads.
Guys, this is top-level CS, Mitch. All right, you know, they meant it all.
Well, I'm not judging, that's for sure. I'm not going to go there. But, all right, pistol round for NiP, and whatever weird circumstances have brought it. Oh, I mean, Gerard was already shaking it before he got the kill. Well, it still seemed to work out. Bit of a, maybe even a tribal war dance to get himself fired up after the fact. Bit of a slower playthrough here in the second round. NiP know that G2 probably have forced up. In fact, they know for sure now. That is the way that things are played out. Shocks may have spotted them through the little window at the top there as they go in towards the middle part of the map. And that's why Freiberg's so important in this map, in my opinion, because of what he does in gun rounds through connector. But Michael going to be pressured. G2 did this well. I like how they sort of double face into some of these gunfights and win them out.
And look how well it's going for them across the board. Now, Smith's finding Freiberg's brought this back to actually a really nice round. He tries to get the gun, tries to recover it, gets punished for it. Exist was ready and waiting. But now the 3 players remaining from NiP are a little bit shaken now. They're a little bit worried. You're thinking, okay, well, it's a 3v4. We're still okay. But there's still positions like this. And any additional damage is massive. It sets a Body to go wild and Shocks to close down. That is not good from NiP. They got picked apart, but I love the active aggression from G2. They look in pairs. They go hunting as a pack on this map, whether it be towards Party, whether it be through short on B. I really like how they actively hunt for this.
It's not a buddy system, it's a body system there. You saw how well they sort of used that sort of play towards those fights. Sure, I think it was Scream or Smith managed to get just a one-on-one with their Deagle there to make things a lot easier, but G2 are really, really good at amassing infrastructure to get positive trades off a dime. Very, very easily, mid-round, they're just like, okay, there's probably a guy here that's double stacking it now. Scream, trying to spray down into this one here with the MP9, backs away after getting towards Freiberg, but he's surrounded, he's going to be cut down, pins it in. Smith so still manages to chime in from the fringes of that fight and get himself the kill. It's going to make it a 4v3 situation now, but momentum has been built up for NiP, of a sort anyway.
And the main thing in my eyes is that G2 have also not just rested on their laurels here, they've put the players like Body and RTK already starting to look for options, but as if this is happening again, back and forth we go. These pistols seem to be able to change everything, be it a Tech-9, be it a Deagle, it doesn't seem to matter. Now RPK is in a position where he could do something, get right on with bombs, so this could be actually pretty tricky, and maybe G2 can weather the storm here. Michael and Forrest didn't pick up the weapons, they weren't in the position, but the Deagle's good enough, and now it's just RPK, and of course he gets picked up. NiP turn it back around, and G2's money is so trashed again. You know, this is the thing, it goes back and forth, and the CT side will suffer more than anyone. Sure, NiP's not, you know, set brilliantly in this, they didn't get away with too much here, but G2 have to eventually respect this. They eventually have to back down. You fall into that trap of
you have so much to gain
buying,
from this. If you're NiP, just get up in the face of G2 and grind their economy down. You know that you're going to be treated a little bit better. In general, Smiths do you come in? Yeah, he's still back in the game, no worries. Nade, though, going to catch the heels of Screams. He just tries to quickly about face and back away from that courtyard. Gets away with it. Only a very small amount of damage being done, but NiP have push the battle line a little bit further forward here. Anyone on the wrong side will be caught in no man's land, but so far G2 have been able to respond and been able to get back. 2 players now down long here for NiP. They will slowly try to pick things apart here. Scream sees the smoke. He's going to try and use a little gap. Doesn't actually see anything, let alone hit the shots.
Yeah, G2 putting a lot of faith in an A hit coming through here, and you got to take risks like this. They can't afford the upgraded armor as well, so it is just those upgraded pistols at this point with 0 flashes to play into it. So, and I want to see if NiP respect this or if they try and play through it, because they've seen a lot of presence from the G2 side, whether it be just a couple of peeks here and there, a couple of shoulder peeks, or a couple of shots they're hearing. So they are taking the bomb away from this, and RPK is the only thing standing between them and B at this point. Shots could cause problems because he's kind of flanking early. So if he hears Freiburg or Forest, that's a problem. And now the bigger problem is, I wonder how Shox plays this out. He does hit the first nice and cleanly enough, backs away, can retract away from it. He sees the plan. Now Freiburg is pretty isolated, all alone. The 3 players that are meant to be supporting him are still quite far away. Now I wonder if RPK is going to try and take a risk. He spots the barrel and he gets it done. We're going back and forth again here, Mitch. This game is ridiculous already, but surely NiP will pull themselves together here. Stop allowing these players to be picked apart.
Well, they've got stuff or utility to work with here, Lauren. That's the problem. So they can't really cover up a player disadvantage now working on towards this side. It's canvassed out by G2 players. They're in position and they're ready to receive this push. Scream lets one rip there from the Deagle. Not going to connect that one, but yes, 7 seconds left in the round. Now this bomb plant needs to go down. It might just happen. NiP going to turn it around. They had the weapons to get it done here. They muscle in. They bully their way on towards the side, and Michael puts the bomb down.
2v2. G2 has nothing to lose, so they're going to go for this no matter what. Shox leading the way, 100 HP, no armor, but he does have the Deagle. Now Michael 50, get right, 50, great shot from Shox. Michael gone, get right on the flank though, and they're both pretty low from G2 now. This gun should be able to handle this, no problem.
Targets.
And no kit as well, so it's all about the face. They need to hit this cleanly. Body tries to take the fight. He does at least spot out the player, but still, timer ticking. Shox knows this one is not going to go his way, so it might be time to try and get out with that gun he's recovered, but Get Right doesn't catch him in the heels in the end, so both will back away, and actually G2 doing phenomenal damage considering they only had those upgraded pistols, and Shox will survive. So good stuff from them to even be able to walk away with this and damage NiP's economy, keep them pretty humble here, not allow those guns to stay over and trickle over, but that bomb plant will at least support them in this.
And from an outsider's perspective, if you're a team who's getting so much value off these upgraded pistol buys, then, well, you're justifying it at the very least to onlookers here. G2 seem comfortable sort of leaning on that one to at least try and inflict some sort of economic damage on their opponents in rounds where they're under armored, and it's worked out for them so far. Freiburg only gets himself back in with a UMP, but the rest of NiP has a bit to work with here. Utility, enough to take on towards this B site. And a faster round by the looks of things from them now. Michael already making his way through.
Yeah, that molly being put down towards short basically allows them to know that G2 will not be pushing aggressively from that angle. And that's a perfect beginning. Michael claiming the scalp of RPK. Get Right chimes in with one for himself, and Body's very, very alone here and surrounded. Get Right predicts the flank as well. Scream goes down, and it's all on Smiths. In a blink of an eye, NiP take the site perfectly and beautifully at that. And now Smiths, well, what can you do here, Smiths? Are you really going to try and fight this one out? Are you going to try and make it costly? He does that at least, but it's all a matter of trying to stay alive, surely, for him at this point.
Yeah,
oh, God.
Not going to be ideal. And Michael as well, just firing through the wall, bang, managing to catch on towards Smiths. And Forrest will chase, and justifiably so here. No need to leave any money left in the pockets of G2. Right at this stage, we can see Smiths is on the run. So a lot of G2 players bought down to, I mean, in this case, 600, sometimes 200. So not good at all for them here on the CT side. And they're not getting out to the start they would have hoped to see. They're not able to hold off. They're not able to stop the dam from breaking. NiP are pressuring on towards them now. Yes, a bit of a stylish moment there, Lauren, on a previous round where they managed to force pistols and get some ground, but it's not a round. You're not getting the money at the end of it. And now, G2. Well, again, you could force pistols or something here. It looks like it's just that. No real armor, no utility. So a bit more sensible from them now, just to guarantee themselves an actual semi-robust buy in the 7th.
Well, they did brilliant work before on just these sort of pistols. They didn't have any armor either.
Yeah, that's true.
So, they've still got the kit on Shox there. So if it does go that sort of way, you might see something similar. But Shox has put himself in a position where he might not even get the chance to use it if it goes that far. He's playing down towards that kind of underpass section. Now, 4 players up long. I like this from NiP, kind of playing to the rifle's advantage, not going to be trying to play in towards where those pistols can be lurking. But toilets is an issue. They start to check this very meticulously. Those corners can contain a rather dangerous player, let's put it that way. But it does mean they lose control on the rest of this map. Get Right and Freiburg trying to keep that in check as much as they can, though. Trying to keep, relative control without being isolated and alone with the threat of losing one of these guns. Because they know how very much this can be an issue. And actually, G2 are playing this well. They're all trying to congregate down towards this A site. If these 2 players on the site itself can stay alive to a bit of damage, this is still not over for NiP. This is not going to be a clean round for them. They need to be very careful here. Good work from Geralt, good work from Michael-Ailey. Keeping it smart, keeping it clean. They have to clear this out well, leaving Shox and Scream very much alone. But there's the damage again. How is this happening? Scream finds Forest, and we're in a 2v2 recovered rifle for Shox. He has armor and a kit. This is not over, Mitch.
Still no bomb partner here for NiP either, but Exist chimes back in on towards Shox. They needed that one just to stem the bleed. Get Right comes for the flank, but doesn't find a kill. Scream can't pick up that M4. Too risky for him now, and he has to hope that Get Right challenges him here inside toilets. That may well just be the case, but timing. Almost really letting Scream down now. The grenade drop there it is. Scream comes in with a quick pop towards the head. It's a 1v1 situation now. Get Right has to get it done and only barely manages to fight his way through that. 2 players dismantling 4 of the NiP squad. Again, another costly round, and we thought it was going to be so squeaky clean from the Swedes.
G2, do that in the gun rounds, please. Somehow make this happen, because that was just terrifying to watch, but brilliant. I love these sort of rounds where they're brought so close. It's not your classic beautiful CS, but it's certainly enjoyable to witness. G2 never quite being out and done for. And this again looks like that same play towards B, that fast kind of monster play. Ooh, they miss up the molly. That could be a problem. That means that maybe someone could have pushed close, but G2 are falling back. They're going to play for a retake here, or at least play very passively off it. As now they're being a little bit careful because they know maybe things haven't gone completely to plan now. They don't get that fast hit down monster. The couple of flashes are coming in, but still they're going to commit here, and they've already got players on the side. This could go badly wrong though. RPK's found one, but he can't find any more. Nice work. He does find Freiburg, but the site is still NiP's.
Yeah, that's right. Shox though on a flanking route here. He might be able to come up and take some of these players by surprise. Scream though having to back away, or at least approach this side very, very slowly now with the Molotov placed at his feet. And Forest there, but Shox catches him out. This is the flanking presence now. It's a 3v2. Advantage for G2. They have some utility to work with, but they don't need it. Shox is a Swiss Army knife in himself, but Get Right will be able to stop him in his tracks. Still, finally finished off there by Scream. At the backside, it's going to be the defuse here once he has the required weaponry. G2 get one back. Finally managed to buy into a round and actually get somewhere.
They didn't even have a kit there either to play with. It's terrifying watching G2 play. It always feels on a knife edge at this point, but they do finally get one on the board. And they have a decent amount built up on Shox too, so I wonder what they're going to bring in. They could be maybe looking at the double AWP, but very early to be bringing out. I don't think maybe it's required just yet. They can spread the wealth a little better, try and build up their economy. And for NiP, their money's not stabilized either. These rounds have been close. They've been losing out to pistols almost a good couple of times here, so their money's still not perfect, but enough for Forest to have the AWP, enough to play this one out. But look at G2. Scream, Smiths down long. Shox pressuring over by Party, so it's all to try and play in to allow the likes of Scream and Smith to be able to do something here. I wonder if NiP's going to consider it, keep their eyes on it. No, they're not, and Scream tapping away, bring them down a little lower, and there's Smiths finally chimes in, goes back aggressively, tags Michael-Ailey, nade will follow, and that can close it. It does. Good play. I love the active play from G2 on their CT side here.
Not allowing NiP and the rest of the squad to actually establish themselves in any positions from which they could push forward and actually pressure on towards G2. So very much opportunities being taken in hand by the French and Belgian mix at this stage, and Body all the way around. Another flank here. We saw how it worked out for Shox in the last round very, very well if you missed it. So Body in a position to cause similar problems here. And this means that NiP are on a timer. They can't afford to linger for too long, but you have to expect they do when they try and play into a 2v4. And now Body, he's managed to spot out Forest. Forest checks it though with the AWP and picks him up. Still goes very, very low now, making things just a little bit harder. A life cheaply lost for G2. Still dominant position in the round here. Both players for NiP now combining for 22 HP.
Exactly, that's the problem. Forest would have to be so influential in this round to allow anything. Geralt can clear kind of a little bit, but Forest is the one who can kill on this sort of HP, that's the thing. But will they even try and go for this? I guess they're still looking for chances, but it's so unlikely this works out for them on such low HP here, as said, but again, can you predict that Smith will be pushed up like this with the AWP? He's playing a very close angle. Forest is being very cautious, but still trying to find some position. It's surely Smith's, and it is. He's going to find it, leaves the bomb now further away, and Scream waiting ever so patiently for Get Right will mean this round is picked up eventually by G2. But again, close, but I want to highlight this aggression from G2 on their CT side. It's beautiful to watch. It's so well placed. It's so well timed to each other, and NiP find it very hard to work around it. Now, Shox, of course, reading the economy well here, going to buy into the SMG and try and go farming.
Speaking of the man himself, in that last round, he pushed very, very deep towards the fountain. Saw that no one from NiP was there. He might have seen a Body go in towards the playground, and that was what enabled G2 to push him with 2 players from long for the peak with much more of a sense of mind there. Obviously, that enabled them to really throw the spanner in the works for NiP in that prior round, but now we're into the 9th. And it is just pistols here for NiP. Economy, not great at all, and that's putting it lightly now. Body in a good position to canvas his side out, and Shox wants to make a bit of money here with the SMG, and who could blame him now up against a unarmored side of NiP that will fall very, very quickly to the rapid fire. And Shox making it work for him, getting that bank. And now down to the USP having to challenge out here against the final player of NiP. It'll be RPK to come in and help. And still, G2 actually get themselves a clean round here. And despite NiP having the lead, they weren't able to replicate that at all in their anti-eco situations.
You gonna do this, Shox? You gonna stay on that? You know that NiP can buy well. He knows this. So he's chosen to stick on the SMG now. Yeah, he's got 7k already. I don't know if it's required. Maybe he's going to be the aggressive factor. He's going to be kind of like almost baiting himself for the trade. But okay, so he's just going to be holding close toilets. I don't know where he's going to play in this where he can be really, really relevant. Holding long, not exactly ideal with just that, but you know, Scream being played in here. This is nice. Freiburg could be in trouble, but handles it so well. Scream gets decapitated, and now NiP looking to punish further. Surely there was someone watching his back, and there was, but Forest finds it. And where was the support? Where was the cover? There was no one there. Shox was going all around it long, and GetRight's found a chance on towards the B site as well. This has opened up so many chances for them.
Get right now as well. Wants to work on B. It's only Body up on the side here. He's going to spot out Michael Ellie. Manages to get him, but eventually he should be cut down, or he should at least. It is going to be exist to get him, but a lot of damage being done by Body, and still Forest picks up the round. I mean, G2 going for something a little bit similar to what we saw from Na'Vi. It's actually how Na'Vi shut down NiP's T side by pressuring really aggressively in towards the connector part of the map. But the problem is the NiP expect this and are always ready for it. Freiburg especially, that's why there's so much emphasis on a player like him in that role. Sure, he's 4-1-8 right now. Sure, he's not power fragging, but he's going to hold that position down because he knows that it is the linchpin for NiP's T side a lot of the time.
Yeah, and at the moment, when it's working out well like this, it's fine. That's all you need. And Michael Ailey playing in Get Right here, allowing him to get towards the water, you know, allowing him to get towards short very, very comfortably. Michael Ailey flashes him in, basically puts that down there so he can get very early control, put down maybe a molly, start to really demonstrate presence early on. But G2 doing what we like to see, trying to play back into it. They've got to check for this as well. Get Right can't get away with it again, and he's alone here. Those flashes were from afar from Michael Ailey, so he can't instantly trade off the back. The CT side will now have the advantage. 5 players stand to the 4 for NiP, but they're doing what you highlighted. Playing through underpass. Freiburg and Forest here, trying to get some power of positioning it to find something, and Shox is going to continue further. This could be an issue. Michael Ailey's got the bomb. If he doesn't land the shot, that could have been much worse, but he does, and he brings it back to this 4v4.
Have the opportunity, of course, and the advantage of picking a very rarely checked position there. No one checks that. I mean, if you're Shox, you're probably throwing up your hands and saying, well, I don't really know how I could have been prepared for someone to spring from there. So NiP at least even their numbers game, but they haven't made any huge steps towards any of these sites yet. Freiburg spent some time in underpass, but didn't actually try and play off the back of it here. And this is now going to draw NiP back towards B. After Shox being given up, they're going to try and pressure now and exacerbate the loss of the player on this part of the map.
And Body's going to go to the kind of surfing position you can be in here. He's going to silently move up. That looked good, but it gave you absolutely nothing. Now NiP have taken the site. It's theirs. The bomb's loose, but that can be picked up. Exist and get that, no problem. And now Smiths is cut off. He knows it. He knows the play back into this would be incredibly tricky, so it's time to save the AWP. Their money's not great. It's kind of been depleted slowly but surely, as really Shox didn't have too much success after that nice little kind of purchase from the SMG earlier as he tried to take it over to the next round. But yeah, NiP just... I'm just enjoying it. You know, that Michael Ailey getting the kill, though, was one of those moments you sat there just like, why is he still in spawn?
Yeah.
Why? You know what I mean? Like, it just
You'd be slightly irate after that,
wow.
I feel.
And it did open up a chance, because they had the upper hand. They were in that 5v4, and as soon as it becomes a 4v4, the issue begins. The T-side can split themselves however they want, or they can go all of this 4 towards one site and assume that the CTs will have to be in 2-2, or maybe a 3-1 at best. But Smiths will be staying alive, at least for now. None of the NiP players are close by, so he should be able to keep this AWP to hand, which is a nice benefit for him. He's not having a bad game yet either. He's certainly doing well. He's holding his own at this point. Not having huge impact either, but enough to keep them in the game.
Yeah, and I think G2's unwillingness to give up a lot of ground to NiP was really good in rounds like when you saw the pressure towards the playground, but can hurt them a little bit. To be fair, though, I also don't think what we saw from G2 in Monster or in those canals was a big problem. I think they tried to take NiP by surprise by using, I think Body was in that sort of surf position. Just straight up didn't work out. So not a huge, big error for G2 in that round, but it still cost them. Now they're back to Pistol Force with an AWP on Smiths.
It's dangerous doing this, NiP. They're going into this one like they normally do on these kind of buy rounds, and the chance of a stack is always present, but it's certainly being negated so far. Smiths does have the AWP though, and he's actually on this site. This is the next issue. If he lands the... If he lands the shots, that could have been a little bit more worrying.
Guardian.
But Scream's going to be doing something from Shaw here. No one really to pinch into this yet because Shox is locking down Forest. But you can't take on a rifle like that. It's not going to work out. And Shox plays into Forest position.
Yeah, I think Shox maybe overestimated the effect of that flash over the top. I believe it was there, because Forest was not flash whatsoever. An easy shot for him to pick off there. So, yeah, G2 having to accept that they have to go a little bit skint in that previous round now, unable to buy an AWP up again, as Smiths obviously did drop that in the previous round. He's no Guardian, as I quietly muttered. That was a very similar position, but again, yeah, it's a lot to expect of Smiths. Just in general, I think, to sort of go for that stuff. It's not to expect of Guardian, really, but he does it. That's the difference, and that's why Na'Vi is the team that they are.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of a stack towards B. No one's playing to it this time for NiP. Look how passive they are. Maybe expecting this aggression, because G2 have been pulling this out in the 4 buys. They've been doing that double stack on long. They've been playing that duo through B. So it's trying to find out what are they up to here. And Exist is the first man to try and take the challenge. There's 2 players pretty much facing this. Smiths just looked away, but Scream was keeping eyes on it. But while this happened, Shox did find Forest. Now, probably from the boost, I can imagine. And now this is where the long play needs to come in, but Exist finds Scream all alone. Smiths wasn't able to support, not able to pull off that kind of 2-play piece that was meant to be coming in down long, and now there's trouble afoot. NiP are encroaching towards A. Bomb is en route. Smiths and Shox need to keep this together. Nice flash does allow a chance, and dun, dun, dun. Got the remix. I hope your phone's okay, you know. I hope you get the charge on. But still, 3v2. G2 have lost out on players. They lost control of the A site initially. G2 aren't far away, though. That's the thing. They're playing towards Bank, and they've got Body close by as well.
Smoked over on Freiburg's left. This might give him a false sense of security, potentially, as RPK would love to challenge at Bank, but no. He'll have to wait, and this late round utility coming out from NiP is going to bring G2 to a screaming halt. Now, as the flames clear, Body just going to be peeking his head up like a bit of a meerkat to see what's happening on this site. Still doesn't have a lot of information, but catches Michaelelli with a bit of a fadeaway shot coming through. However, the chance of him getting a defuse at this stage with no kill on either of them is literally 0, and they are going to back away with just that.
And they oh, there we go. Freiburg does find RPK in the end. He was hanging around quite... Oh my god, Body goes down as well. No, that's awful. Look at their money, 3K. They could have maybe kept hold of those 2, maybe dropped them out, but less than ideal weapons, but they could have had a force buy into this one. But now they're going to have maybe upgraded pistols, maybe a little bit of armor here or there, but it's so far from what you want to be working with, as this was a really competitive game at the start, back and forth rounds, but now NiP have seemed to stabilize. They started to read the game well that G2 have been bringing, and obviously these 2 have met quite recently on this map, so not surprising, but yeah, really nice response so far from NiP, but maybe G2 can pull off a bit of that, spicy play they've been bringing out on these rounds.
I think Shox was caught by a Molotov thrown towards short. He actually charged across the top of it, hoping to find something from NiP there, but it was nothing really. It wasn't a fake, I guess, but maybe just a backstop, and Scream gets cut down in towards this underpass area. Do not walk on a Freiburg's lawn when he's in residence. Of course, this is a bit more of an anti-eco situation for NiP, but no chance to properly challenge out that underpass at all. Freiburg lives, gets himself 3 kills. Body, though, has himself an AK. Off the back of that 1 kill he did manage to get, but Exist is going to have that torn from his grasp very, very quickly. And another round comes up here for NiP. A buy for G2 before the half is all they're going to have, and they're going to have to make good on it.
Well, it's a big buy. You've got the 2 AWPs, finally. But, man, 5 to 10, still not great. Not for these boys. Back and forth rounds. Those 3 rounds they strung together were great for them, but it feels so few and far between. But again, G2 need to get this one. They, a 5-10 half is workable. That's okay. That still means that you got something to bring on that T side. But 4-11 starts to look on the verge of being very, very tough. Imagine if NiP win the pistol round, then it all spirals.
Sure.
But still, NiP sit back. This is what they've been doing. They've been waiting to see what quirk G2 bring this round.
As if there always was one for G2. This might be a little adjustment. Body standing proud up on top of Toxic, and Get Right must have seen the barrel there as well. He's been sort of preempting that spot. He knows Body's dropped down. Oh, he doesn't take the shot. How interesting.
It's how much power he can bring now being in this position, because they don't know he's out. So if anyone tried to play around it, that would be the problem. But they've lost out on players elsewhere on the map. Now, Body could be sacrificed here, or he can just be an insta-call. Like, guys, he's going to be at barrels or he's at water. Simple as that. Though you'd probably already predict that. But again, can Get Right play ahead of what they predict? That's what I'm looking at. Now, Shox is actually in a really good spot here, and Body still finds him. He wasn't watching Monster for too long, so he maybe expected that maybe a G2 member, an NiP member could have walked up, but Body's giving us a masterclass so far. keeping it very much in check, and Exist lose out on a lot of HP in that exchange. It means it's going to be tricky for him to close this one through, and 5 to 10 will at least be the half. So they do have a good shot at making a competitive second half out of this.
Yeah, not much to say about that round, really, Lauren, except the aforementioned body you pointed out. 2 NiP players were picked off over towards the fountain area and long A. That's sort of, we didn't get to see them at all, but that was a double orb coming into play there for G2. They finally get it in their hands. They finally make some value out of it here. But 10-5 is the score. A decent T side here for NiP, and maybe conversely not great for G2. Couple nice moments in this game for your viewing pleasure. As we go to a break, we'll return with the second half on Overpass in a few moments. Well, capping off the end of the first half with a nice double AWP buy into a victorious round, G2 have set themselves up to at least be competitive in this second half. Although 10 rounds is definitely a long barrel to be staring down, and that pistol round will be very, very crucial as we jump in a few moments here, Lauren.
And if I'm not mistaken, we might have actually just had an update to CSGO coming through as well, possibly, about the crouching movement. So if people want to look into that, I think it's just gone live on the Counter-Strike blog about the movement. So that would be good to look at. I'm just going to double check if that's actually legit in a second. And yeah, it looks like maybe that's on the horizon of being fixed, which is always nice news.
Yeah.
But yeah, into the game we'll be going pretty soon. Yeah, some really messy rounds coming through there from, I'd say both sides. G2 going from, you know, really impressive rounds to kind of terrifying rounds. I don't know, it's very hard to kind of put them in a box. They're a team that really doesn't allow that to happen. But yeah, if one of you guys at home can confirm that that is a legit update, I just want to make sure before I say anything. I think it's just going to the beta client right now. That'd be very, very cool. I think it includes things like the double jump, the kind of crouching that's happened when you can go to higher than expected areas, and a couple of the Molotov and smoke issues that I think have been kind of cropping up. So if that's the case, let me know. I'm kind of curious. But anyway, yeah, looking at this game, 10-5 in the half. G2 did secure that final round of the first half, so they were able to stabilize into this one. However, the first half, the pistol, and the following rounds went back and forth, back and forth. It's a very turbulent time. So if someone gets off to a clean start, that'd be big. But look at NiP already going straight for the face towards Underpass and get run over by G2. Screaming RPK pick that up with a big smile on their face, but that smile might be wiped off very quickly by Get Right. That's 3 already. Screaming buddy.
Not again.
He's doing it. Oh my word, how has he stayed alive like this? And at least this time, it wasn't just Smiths on the end of receiving that sort of punishment. Now it's Shocks up against Forest in the 1v1. 2 phenomenal aimers with those pistols, and it's Forest to close it down before it began.
Get right. That was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, yeah, sure. We see a player in his position. We obviously think, well, if it's Get Right, he can probably do something about it, but that was nicely done. Just crouching down, so his head was hard to see. In fact, I'd say a few of the G2 guys didn't even know he was there. 4 kills off the back of that one. Somehow had a chance to reload. That's how shattered G2 are. Look at this. They're still not looking at him, still not looking at him, still not looking at him. Finally gets some attention and still survives here with a little bit of fancy footwork. Checks his shoelace, makes sure it's tied up, and then finishes RPK. What? You what, mate?
All right, so G2 going to do something similar here. Going to head through towards underpass. Michael maybe sensing this one, just doesn't want to stay on his own. Just wants to fall back. He doesn't want to be caught out by a force-up, which is very likely to happen.
All right, buddy, you drew the short straw, mate. You go first. Everyone's looking at him like, all right, mate. When you ready?
Yeah. And, yeah, here we go. Into the round. It does seem as though it will be going to the base client, by the way, that jump stuff, so that's really nice to see. And this is being so nicely held by NiP here. Look at this, just from a range, not allowing them to get into... Oh, crisp as you like there, Forrest. Closing out towards Scream, and this is terrifying for G2. They had that chance to kind of do what they had done to them, turn these rounds back and forth, keep it close, and now that's kind of dissipated, slipped away. Their money's not very good here. They desperately need a plant. They've been barely able to get a kill. If that, you know, after Get Right just kind of dismantled them in the first, now they had a clean second round for NiP. This is worrying for G2.
Yeah, Get Right, 23, 5, and 11 for this game as well. It's been a really good performance for him. I mean, his name's known around the world. There's actually a Chinese pro player in a different game who's called Get Left, and no one comes up with that name unless they're copying that one. So good on him for having that reputation. Forrest only gets to trade that one though. Interesting. Scout for Michael doesn't find anything at this stage. G2 going to be given some ground here, but Freiburg has got himself up in towards underpass here, so position to do something from. But G2, they pull back here after losing Shocks to exist there.
So M4 recovered. Freiburg and exist, excuse me, should be the ones to be trying to take the brunt of this, but the problem with G2 is they haven't really got any steps towards the side. They've lost out on a lot of control towards B, considering the positioning from Exist. Now, Freiburg has to be quite a linchpin here. He's very surrounded. He's got Smiths on one side if he tries to escape, and he's found that out. Now, of course, he didn't know that, but he was very much alone there. That's the one, you know, predicament that you're left in, but G2 still don't have a great deal to play off here. No smokes, no quick flash to play in to try and get someone down, but they're going to do what they can. They're going to recover the gun that was in Freiburg's hands previously, so now they have 2. And they do have the smoke as well that was picked up just from his fallen corpse. So again, small chances coming together now.
Well, I can do a lot with this. Yes, they're unarmored, but we've seen that's not really being an issue for G2 when they're hitting headshots as often as they are. See Michael punished heavily for trying to go for peaks on towards Smiths here. The audacity of the man is punished now. Smiths not taking any damage at all from that. And that is definitely going to cut NiP a little bit lower in their confidence levels now. They still have Get Right to work with. They can still jump scout here with Michael. Going to be hard to do it again. Goes through regardless. I mean, he's the kind of player that will go for the stuff he ordinarily shouldn't, but Get Right's going to be here. He's going to be the ball walk he's supposed to be anyway. But no, it's not going to be enough. PK just storms on towards the side, puts his seal of approval over it, gets himself 2 kills, and Exist has to challenge out in kind. The UMP effective, no armor either, so not going to be ideal for G2 in the end there. And after losing the pistol, this is maybe what you should expect if you're in their position. They're going to buy up now. 13-5 is definitely not a great situation. A bit oppressive to play from so far behind if you're G2. They had to do the same on Mirage.
Okay, so this is a long road back. Long road back here for these G2 boys. They do have a decent buy here. They get the AWP very early, at least for Smiths in this one, so they don't have to go through this without. We'll see how he plays into it. Simple as that. NiP have so much, you know, room for error. Oh, Exist being taken very low. I wonder if that was a molly straight through. Yeah, it was. Now Michael has to spring into action. Maybe you try and deny anyone to try and play off the back if they hear those connections coming through, but no. In the end, it's a 5v4, so favourable again towards NiP. And the rest of G2 are so passive here. Yeah,
Shocks did that as well on the CT side for G2. If you rush over on towards short and you get your player in underpass, you get like a double peak scenario into anyone who's sitting out in towards Monster. Can work, but Exist paid a lot of HP for not a lot because there was a smoke on the other side of it there. So nicely put together. RPK being pressured heavily, peppered by bullet fire from the lower side of the map. Now he gets himself up with the rest of his team though, and Get Right and the rest of NiP are adjusting. Forrest is already ready to receive, or at least he was. Fancies himself a different perch. And the Swedes have been given time to settle here, to set up to receive. And G2 coming with 4 players, and RPK looking worse for wear as well.
No one's got Forrest back at this point. They could be anywhere. He chooses to look towards the left, towards the stairs approach. Now he's safe. Now Exist has his back, but Body still just shoulder peeks into the Jiggle peeks really well. Scream overruns Get Right. We're into a 2v3. This is looking more and more possible. Scream's found Exist, and now we're in a 2v2. Bomb can be planted. They can smoke off these angles. They can get better positions. Nice plant from Body there. And now NiP have to play retake.
Well, Scream's going to go down. He was the danger player there, but Body finds someone through the smoke. He's at Optimus, and that was Prime, but not good enough. It's going to be Freiburg to get the kill response, putting NiP now to 14-5, and a G2 economy that never got a chance to flourish is again going to be set back a few steps.
And Freiburg saves the AWP. And NiP, even though they're close rounds, get another on the board. This is the problem now. I wonder how bad, I say how bad, how's NiP's money looking at this point? Still okay. They've got enough on a couple of players, they can spread it out, but it got quite low. Get Right and Forrest certainly weren't good for cash at that point, but I can imagine the AWP's going to be dropped over towards him. Everyone else can kind of buy around it. You're still going to get a good buy from this. On the other side of things, you've got a Galil, a Tech 9, a couple of rifles, and a good deal of utility, at least to build off, because they need it. They need to get something going here, G2. It has to start now, or it might just be that little bit too late.
Yeah, Shox has to work with the Galil here, so that's obviously less than ideal situation, but if you're going to want to put a gun like that into anyone's hands, probably his. He knows what to do with it. At least he knows how to make it behave. Freiburg as well, fancy some wall bangs in towards Underpass, but no, G2 want to set up here. That Molotov towards short. Now, a little bit later coming in here for NiP should maybe give them, I guess, a couple of thoughts about how the movements of G2 are actually playing out here. Flash in. A lot of utility being expended here just in the early stages of G2, maybe just to signal something happening at B. They've drawn players over, and now G2 actually set up in towards Underpass, and it's a free toilet block essentially, except for Forrest looking in. So if Body's to go around towards the right, he won't be spotted out and actually could get towards the A side fairly comfortably here, but it's a long walk for G2 and they're not convinced.
No, they're really not. And 1 minute left. What do they have? 2 smokes, a molly, and they've lost out on Shox. That's a problem. Now they're all going to be coming in from one direction. Now, the likes of Freiburg can just get himself ready for this one. Here comes the hit. The flashes are a little bit late already. They're facing before them, and there you go. Freiburg just deals with 3 back-to-back. Big play from him, and Exist will take the final one. So between them, dealing with everything coming towards B pretty much there. Beautifully done. They stabilize. They've got good money now, or at least enough to weather through the next couple of rounds if required. And well, G2 on the other side.
Next couple rounds?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't.
Well, the way it's gone so far, no, I think this should be done and dusted.
RPK spends his money on utility. He spends 2.4 on just getting enough flashes, smokes, and Molotovs to actually try and make something happen here on the T side. NiP have been, indomitable here as counter-terrorists. Our favorite smoke does come in. Cue the air horns, and NiP will be set up for this one now. Mike Lilly actually sitting out towards long, interestingly enough. Forrest into his toilet block. So yeah, very much the center setup here for NiP. It's worked for them so far. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And already they get a pick. Already they get the first pick there. I don't know how...
Oh, man.
And then the feed from Body walks into it. Forrest now, he's expecting more, but they're making a quick play up towards A short, just kind of hammering players through. Actually, it's not a bad plan. Michael Ailey and Forrest are on long. They obviously don't know that. They can't read into it instantly, but now they're kind of stuck here. Everyone's come around. Those mollies are still in place, but Smiths is trying to fight the good fight. The new rifler clearly coming in with this. 2 back-to-back. Geralt and Freiburg go down, but can he find any more? Can he do more heavy lifting here? Scream's got the back. He's got the flank, but will he expect Exist? Surely not. But again, Forrest lurks, waits.
Oh, no, it's
Can
not
you
good.
predict it? He's got to be... I think he might have just got a glimpse, maybe.
I don't
Exist
think so.
actually found Scream, so now it's all on Smiths. And there's nothing more to be found there. Forrest stops him before he even takes a step towards the site. And it's NiP with a convincing victory.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about it coming in towards half-time. Well, we know the pistol's important, but we've also seen what G2 can do from behind when they're underarmed, or sometimes even almost unarmed. But unfortunately, the pistol forces weren't in their favor, and they even managed to buy up with at least 3 rifles in the last 2 rounds, and it was not enough. Very much a different story to what we saw in Kiev here. This is an absolute blowout for NiP.
Yeah, what a difference of games we've seen tonight. We saw Mirage, which was just weird, but going on to Overpass, yeah. I liked some of their CT-sided plays. I liked some of the aggression they're bringing through, but it felt like it went from really, really well constructed to this very messy kind of back and forth game. NiP felt like they were going through the motions to me. Sure. They didn't seem challenged. I'm going to be honest, I think they played very well, but scoreline-wise, it didn't even look that close after that back and forth in the initial few rounds. So a little disappointing because, you know, on paper, this was meant to be a really big game, but it just kind of fell a little bit below that. Yeah, no, and questions definitely being raised of G2. We can see they're trying to make some changes. We saw Mirage, a different AWPing setup did occur, but it wasn't enough there either. So now let's go over towards their desk and maybe they can add to our thoughts on how this match went down.
Yeah, that desk turned out to be less exciting than the 7th floor of the Passion nightclub. It was a bit of a flat one, I have to say, and I'm glad you got that reference.
That means something to me.
Don't worry about it. You'll figure it out later.
Great.
No, I mean, guys, look, on paper.
It goes down.
Jesus Christ.
On paper, I was going to hold a straight face. On paper, overtime last time these guys played on this map in Kiev, and this time nowhere near that.
No good.
I'm done. I can't come back from this.
I can talk about some Counter-Strike if you want.
Talk, please.
What was with Get Right turning his back to the players?
You actually, I think, said that. You're asking a question to set yourself up.
Yeah,
I'm calling you on that.
I'm learning. I'm trying to get better at this thing.
Right.
So I think what Get Right's trying to do is exploit the pistol hitboxes, because when you turn your back, it's really hard to shoot people in the head. So he did it in 2 occasions on both pistol rounds, the CT and the T, and he managed to survive and get an extra kill. It's pretty cheeky.
It is actually cheeky, especially against the pistols in particular, because if you have any armor at all, the body shots aren't sufficient, whereas a rifle, he's likely going to go down in that case. I still can't figure out, and I know you guys said they're occupied, he's got very little hitbox when it's just the head showing, how 3 players come out the door, though, and they all just continue to shoot at the guy at bags. You'd think at least one guy would try and... I'll get right. But I guess I can understand that at the same time.
it was the bait play, so...
Yeah. Oh, it worked.
Definitely so. And winning both pistols, of course. I think that game was really messy. In the first half especially, you know, the pistol round went the way it did go. And then G2 wins the second round with the pistol force buy, but then again they lose to pistols from NiP pretty much. It was really hard for anyone to establish control, and when NiP actually managed to do it, that propelled them into getting a huge lead in the first half.
I think NiP need to go back to threats anti-eco / anti-force by school.
Definitely so.
Yeah.
Bit of touch up on that would be helpful.
That was the one thing that Threat brought along that a lot of us on this, you know, in this job, in this role, thought was very good. And obviously they've kind of gone away from it. And I think it slipped a bit of tournaments as well.
It's been messy for some time now. And I think it's also interesting the way they called in gun rounds. I mean, the first 2 gun rounds, they just decide to walk out B, go for a contact play and explode. First time, it works perfectly. They get 2 entry kills. Second time, you see the difference. Those plays are all-in plays, and it all depends on the entry kills pretty much. And you could see the second time around...
This is just what Chad was talking about right there, by the way. Keep going. I just wanted to point that out so people
the
knew.
Second time around, RPK did manage to get 2 kills, and that was enough for G2 to bring the round back in the end.
Well, either way, it wasn't enough for them to do much with the game at 16-5. Pretty one-sided. I don't think we'll try and dig too much more into it. Yes, they like to put the camera on you. You don't like camera time? You don't like camera time? It's fine. Me neither. I know a couple casters who do very much like camera time, though. Listen, I mean, after today, NiP looking more and more on form. They get another 2 wins. They're continuing to climb up the charts. Na'Vi split another series, go 1-1. We'll take a look back at today's scorelines as we go through this. But this is starting to change the table a little bit, too, because obviously Mouse Sports, look, okay, they get 1 against Na'Vi. That's big for them in the fact that we said a win against Na'Vi is almost worth double in some ways because some of the top teams aren't getting those wins, and therefore you're getting when they aren't. You're stealing a point away potentially. But G2 losing 2 when they're already sitting at 9-9. This could be Brazil potentially out the window.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious how competitive the league is in itself, right? So there are no easy games pretty much right now, and I think it is going to be extremely difficult for them to get to that final spot.
And remember, 6 from Europe now do go to that final spot, so there's some, I guess, margin of error. There's usually always about the first 2 teams are clear-cut by the end of the season, but 4 teams that are competing for the last 2. Now there's going to be 5 or 6 teams competing for the last 4 spots, so it's going to be a real wild card in that sense. Well, okay, perfect. This actually will paint it. So NiP continue to sit top the table, 13-5. They're looking better and better, plus 62 as well. So the games that they've won have been quite convincing in that sense. FaZe is there, but as you said, good start early on. You guys mentioned it earlier on the desk. They've kind of slipped off a little bit. They're kind of fading away from that maybe honeymoon period with Alu, and people could potentially step over them later on.
I mean, besides NiP, all the teams that have a small number of losses, they haven't played that many games. Even Envious, who has 5 losses, only played 10 games. While on the other hand, you know, you could see obviously that teams who played more games have more losses. So I'm expecting it to be really close. And you could have, I mean, you look at this table, it could be even more than 6 teams contending for those, you know, rest 4 spots.
Yeah, it depends on who trades with who, and essentially wins and losses. If people continue to go 1-on-1 on the night, seems to be a trend this year. It could be very interesting to see. I think it's more easy to tell who's not going to be there than who is at this point in time. Flip side, Penta. No offense. Although Penta got to win tonight.
Probably how
Against Astralis. That's
exactly.
That's what I was talking about, right? You would expect Astralis to be a clear favorite, and they definitely needed the win. They started 0-6 in the Pro League, so they need every win they can get, and they dropped a map to Penta.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It seems to be common that people are doing that. But we're not done with the 6 spots over here. We're not done with Counter-Strike for the evening. In fact, the spots in North America are heavily contested as well, aside from perhaps Cloud9, who's way ahead. But the NA match is coming up for this evening. It's going to be Liquid, who are struggling as of late. They're going into a boot camp. I know Hiko mentioned he was flying there. I think if not today, it was tomorrow. They play against NRG, who's been having a reasonably okay season. Second stream, if there is one, I don't think there is. Is there second stream production?
There is, you see it like the Cloud9 supplies game.
They said there's actually not. There is a second game, but
Are
it's
we
not
gonna
stream.
stream?
That's what I was saying.
Stream,
so,
okay.
so there's not a second stream, but it's Cloud9 Splice. No, we're not, Chad, if that's what you were wondering. SKCLG, that'll be off stream because, well, those two teams aren't as interesting right now as obviously Cloud9. That's dominating everyone, and they'll play up against Echo Fox now that they've returned to American soil.
Yeah, exactly. This might be a good chance for Echo Fox to get 2 wins against a team like Cloud9 because they just came from 2-3 weeks traveling in Europe.
Toronto, straight to Kiev, straight to Bucharest.
Yeah, so it is, you know, kind of a getting back into shape time for them, jet lag and all that stuff. So Echo Fox might pull up. There's a good upset opportunity there.
Yeah, you could be really tired. You kind of get home. You have the mental focus strictly on those lands, and then you kind of let your guard down for a minute. It'll be interesting. I think I'm curious to see if Cloud9 can continue to perform that way and if they can continue to excel through the ranks. Some people are saying, yeah, they're on 2015, summer 2015 form. Some people saying that they're not convinced yet because everyone else is kind of slipping a little bit in that sense. So I'll be interested. I might tune in if I'm still awake. Who knows? I'll probably should be sleeping, but because we come back tomorrow and I'm going to need my rest, I'm going to need my voice, I'll be back casting tomorrow to take you away through either Na'Vi and Penta on the main stream or Virtus Pro and Hellraisers off stream. Obviously, Envy plays Flipside. Envy, if they want to really make a case, really take a step forward, that should be a 2-0 for them, but Flipside are desperate to find wins as well due to the relegation factor, and G2 need to make up desperately against
Heroic.
Team X. Yeah, Heroic's logo is still on there. Yeah, or X's logo, yeah, so Heroic, who also are, I think they're 4th bottom, 4 and 8. It's a bit surprising considering the performances they've had on land as of late.
They're land gods.
They are. Nice to see. Still Danish, though, and can't close out games.
Damn.
Yeah, they'll get over that someday. They have Madi, so they are a little better at it than the other guys.
But he has been living in Denmark, I think, for some time now in Copenhagen.
All right, he's content. Put him in quarantine, get him back to Sweden. We'll try and fix him up. It's okay, Madi. You'll be fine. That said, guys, we are going to close it for the night. Thank you so much for joining in. It's been a blast. I don't often get to host anymore, but due to the fact that I can hardly talk, yes, I know. I'm sorry, Yanko. I got the sit-in tonight, and we also got to hear Machine almost have an orgasm when Guardian hit it at 5K. On that note, I think we'll all go to bed. Good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much.